to still be available for you. I'm happy to answer any questions. Yes, sir.
What is, I guess, Mr. Turner's position on the Houston Botanic Gardens development, or any public statement on that, or?
Like any, just in the same place as his stance on historical preservations. He's in favor of the concept, and he's okay with, moving forward, at least discussing it. But obviously, like, there wasn't necessarily a lot of adequate stakeholder engagement from local civic clubs and local community groups. And for somebody like Representative Turner, who for the past 22 years has passed 11 state balanced budgets, stakeholder engagement is really, really important. Like back in the legislature, you can't move anything out of committee unless, generally speaking, you can get both sides to agree on a particular issue. And the Botanic Gardens is very important. It's definitely probably going to be something that's going to, given the population growth that we have, there's a lot of studies to show that it's going to probably be a revenue producer. But how it's going to look, what the effect on local traffic and congestion and residential zones are going to be, those are things that really need to.
You are aware it's like just a few miles, if not a mile.
Yeah, it actually affects my day boss's district too.
Yeah.
So it's something like the local civic clubs were not necessarily engaged by.
They were not engaged.
And that's frankly a big issue, because if you go back into Austin, like Marianne can probably attest to, when she was passing energy storage bills, if you don't bring everybody to the table, you're going to get a product that's probably not going to do what you're hoping it's going to do. Like in the case of the Botanic Gardens, City Hall's just looking at the revenue number. Oh, it's going to produce so and so much, but they're not necessarily considering facts on the ground of, do you have any understanding about the congestion it's going to cause? Do you have, or the effect on property value? Where are you going to put the greenhouse? How's the zoning going to look? Because zoning for a botanic garden is kind of weird, because is it commercial or residential? Under state code, it could kind of be either. So you really have to engage your civic clubs.
And they put together a sounding board that actually includes, the leadership in the surrounding communities, and I'm representative here for that sounding board. Yep. So that is a big interest to me, and I'd like to hope whoever does, get the position, the mayor, works, in sync and together to make something nice happen.
Yeah, and I think it's just like Magnolia Park Civic Club said. It was like, we're not necessarily against it, but you never bothered to talk to us.
Right.
If the resources are there and it can be done in a way that's a revenue producer, that creates good jobs, that creates a green space, that also doesn't affect local property and congestion, that's fine. The problem is you need to bring in those stakeholders. Sure. That's actually part of Sylvester's platform on not just on his public works and historical restorations platform. There's also on the other side of town close to the sign of Alien, there's some historical restoration projects with the same issue. Sir?
So, you both candidates are really saying the same things in this race. We need to fix the infrastructure. We need to fix the budget. We're not going to raise taxes. We're not going to mess with the fire department, police department's pension funds. So, I guess I have two questions for you. One, why should I vote for Sylvester Turner versus Bill King? What specifically is Sylvester Turner going to do? And then two, how's he going to fix some of this stuff if we're not going to raise taxes and we're not going to touch the pension fund? I mean, because one or the other's got to give. And really, in my opinion, the financial crisis is from the TERS, because they basically carve out financial fiefdoms that are using city taxes.
I think, actually, the lady to my left once put it best when she was discussing why she's a stronger candidate from her general election opponent. It is so easy to say, I'm gonna, and with respect to Bill King, who actually I really like his book that he wrote on the importance of moderation and dialogue and political discourse. I'm gonna is not as good as I did, and I did. Representative Turner's got an actual background on balancing budgets in the state government. But one of the issues that a lot of folks don't necessarily know is that Texas, unlike most states, we don't just have a balanced budget requirement. It's not just a statutory code requirement, it's a constitutional mandate. We're not even allowed to, with the exception of bonds, with the exception of the issuance of bonds for transportation, we're not allowed to incur any debt in order to balance our budget. So it means your revenue streams for the state budget, and a state as big as Texas, which effectively is an economy larger than the Russian Federation. If we were an independent republic, we would be probably, I think, 8 or 9. We'd be in the G20. Below California still, but my Texan pride wants me to hope that we eventually catch up. You need somebody who actually understands the sources of revenue streams. In Sylvester's case, the pension issue, it almost got codified, and something that actually needs to be done from City Hall. This past session, he proposed a compromise that brought the firefighters to the stakeholder table. Talk about, look, we have to come up with a long-term solution. Yes, you were promised. We're going to take care of you when you retire. That's a promise we made as the city, but we got to be realistic. You know, math is a stubborn thing, and we have to find a way to make it work. It's not enough to just make sure that we're investing prudently and we're getting a good return on our investment, and that you're actuarially sound, and that we're not dipping and rating the pension like the city's decided to do with the municipal employees pension system. You know, we also need to talk about who's got skin in the game. He was able to negotiate with the firefighters to increase their contribution from 6% to 9%, an almost 50% increase. And that's something that, even though the legislature didn't quite get there because it died on deadline, because you could do it two ways. You can either do it as the city, because we have a strong mayor system, or you can codify it because the firefighters' pension is in state statute. Representative Turner tried to codify the city's agreement, which had the firefighters chip in more over time, and tiered new firefighters in to take into account. Because let's be honest, like my generation, I have another year before I turn 30, so I'm just going to pretend that I'm going to be 29 for the next 5 years. But firefighters around my age, they're going to retire. They're not going to retire at 62 or even 63 or 64. They're probably going to retire, statistically speaking, somewhere around 69. So they're going to be working longer. They are probably going to be able to contribute more. The raw math is there. So that contribution rate needs to go up. And you need someone who's capable of actually making those difficult calls. Because you're right. I mean, the firefighters' pension, it's not going to necessarily go away. You're not even going to be able to convert it into a 401k, even though some candidates want to, because it's actually codified in state statute, and you're not going to be able to get the legislature to get rid of it. You need someone who can deal with that on the ground, who understands dealing with something that huge, and who's got the weight with stakeholders like the firefighters to say, look, you need to come to the table. And it's kind of funny, he made the firefighters chip in more, but the firefighters also endorsed him for mayor. So that's where it is. You need someone who can show that I've done this.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
What is Mr. Turner's thoughts on sanctuary cities?
In favor of enforcing our federal laws, but also in favor of local control, making sure federal agencies enforce them. But he also, to that end, is in favor of raising the spending cap, provided it balances our budget, to bring on another additional 500 police officers for the city force for code enforcement. Thank you all so much. Just a reminder, early votes December 2nd through the 8th, December 6th, that Sunday, 1 to 6 p.m. So most people use that Sunday. Thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mathew.